Hello beautiful people, once again you're welcome, and today we are going to see how an A positive mom and an O positive dad could give birth to an O negative baby. When this lady walked up to me and asked me this question, I know most of us will be thinking, but how is that possible? Today we want you to know that it is absolutely possible. Before we go to see how this is possible, we want to thank our subscribers, and if you have not yet subscribed, please do so, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Now, let us see how this is actually possible. We are going to look at the ABO blood grouping. I want us to look at the different blood types. I want to take you through this slowly so that you can understand perfectly how this works or how this is possible. An O positive dad and an A negative mom. How can they actually give birth to an O negative mother? Let us look at the ABO blood grouping. Before we go deeper, there are things you would have to remember to help you better understand throughout the course of this video. The first thing I want you to remember is that most of our genes come in pairs. The second thing is that in our lifetime, we are going to pass one of these pairs of genes down to our children. And this is totally out of your control, meaning that nature determines which set of genes you pass down to your children. Thirdly, what you have to remember is that we have the dominant traits and the recessive traits, or the dominant genes and the recessive genes. So when the dominant genes are the ones that can express themselves even when a recessive gene is present, while the recessive genes cannot express themselves when the dominant gene is present, unless the both genes are recessive. What I'm trying to explain is that let us use an example of somebody who is so big or so strong or so powerful. Those are the dominant genes, while we have weaklings who are the recessive genes. Now, when the powerful guys are there, the recessive guys will not really, they will not be too visible because of the presence of the powerful guys. It doesn't mean that they don't exist. They are actually there, but because of the more powerful guys, you don't really get to see them. That's what I'm trying to explain by the dominant genes and the recessive genes. Now, with that, I think you will be able to understand in the next couple of minutes of this video how possible that baby was able to be born. Now, looking at the ABO blood grouping. The ABO blood grouping is actually responsible for the different blood types we have. So the three main types are the A blood group, the B blood group, and the O blood group. Now, remember that we said most of our genes come in pairs. So if we look at the pairs of these blood groups that we have named, we'll see that we'll actually have 6 different types, which is the AA blood group, the AO blood group, the AB blood group, the BB blood group, the BO blood group, and the O blood group. Now, looking at all of what we have mentioned, these different blood groups, you realize that the A and the B blood groups are actually dominant over the O blood group, which means that O is a recessive blood group when A and B are present. That is why you realize when we have the AA blood group, the blood type that that individual is going to have, it's actually the A blood group. When we have the AO, because O is a recessive gene, the person is going to still end up with an A blood group. Now, when we have the AB blood group, remember that the A and the B genes are present, but because both of them have equal strength, in genetics we will say they are co-dominant. So because they have equal strength, we will end up with AB blood group. And then for the BO blood group, see, the BB blood group will end up with a B because both of them are dominant. If we have the BO blood group, we'll end up with a B blood group because O is recessive and cannot express itself when B is present. Now, one thing you have to also note right now is that for the OO blood group, we end up with an O blood group. Why? Because both of them are recessive, therefore they will express themselves. So you end up with an O blood group. I hope that is understood about the ABO blood group. Now, let us look at the rhesus factor. The rhesus factor, it's actually a protein that is on a red blood cell. Now, if it's present, we'll say you're rhesus positive. If it's absent, we'll say you're rhesus negative. Okay, for each of these blood groups, I want you to remember that the negative rhesus factor is recessive to the positive rhesus factor, which means that the positive rhesus factor is dominant. So if, for example, if the mother has a positive rhesus factor and a negative rhesus factor, she will have a positive rhesus factor because the negative part of the rhesus factor is recessive. Looking at all of this, assuming that we have understood all of this, which I believe we have understood it properly. So if we have understood all of this, let us go back to our scenario, to the case that we have at hand, where an A positive mother and an O positive father give birth to an O negative baby. You will come to realize that this baby had 1 out of 8 chances to have an O negative blood group. How is this possible? Let us take a look at it. Now, the mother probably had the AO blood group. From our explanation of some minutes ago, the mother had an AO blood group and a positive negative rhesus factor, while the father had an OO blood group and a positive and a negative rhesus factor. Now, the mother releases her O blood group, that is the recessive. Remember that when we spoke that when recessive gene is present in the presence of a dominant gene, the recessive gene cannot express itself. It doesn't mean that it is not there. So in this case, the mother had OA blood group. The O blood group was recessive, so it did not express itself. But also remember that I said you cannot determine which of the genes you pass down to your child. So in this case, the mother happened to have passed down her recessive O blood group to this child. And the father, on the other hand, had the OO blood group. So the father can only offer an O blood group because that is all he has to offer. So the father then releases one of his O blood groups. This gives us the child's blood group OO. That gives us O because both are recessive. So it gives us the child expresses an O blood group. Now let us see how this baby was able to get a negative rhesus factor. This mother probably had the A positive and minus rhesus factor, and the father equally had the O positive and minus rhesus factor. So the mother again gave down her negative rhesus factor to this child and his negative rhesus factor to this child, and then this baby ended up with an O negative blood group. I hope that is understood. When you look at it, you will now be able to understand why this baby had this O negative blood group. And if you look at the graph right here, you'll be able to understand that after all of this, the baby had 1 out of 8 chance to be an O negative baby. So I hope you've really understood this. If you have any questions, we'll be waiting for you at the comment section. Remember, we always love to listen to you down in the comment section. And this is an International Blood Donation Week. We encourage everybody to donate blood because blood can save lots of life. Thank you very much. And of course, I remain your favorite hostess, Ika. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to share this video so that somebody somewhere gets to learn something about their health. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.